Okay, today I'm flying from Stockholm to St. Petersburg. Flying from Arlanda Airport in Stockholm on a Scandinavian Airlines DC-9. Beautiful aircraft, no longer in service. Designed in about 1960, well, released in 1963. Passenger capacity of about 110, 120. And so we're going to taxi towards runway 19R for the trip. And we'll be landing in Pulkovo Airport in St. Petersburg at the end. Very primitive flight controls on the DC-9. It makes it a lot more challenging to fly. As you can see, I've got my flaps set to 25 degrees. And lining up. A little bit of a boost there. I was changing the nitrogen ratios. Okay, off we go. Start applying some throttle here. Spool it up. And now we'll give it some stick. Got to centre the steering now because we're still in rudder mode. Okay, phenomenal acceleration in these planes. They're not turbofans like the later model aeroplanes. They are turbojets. Not very efficient on fuel. Okay, up we go. Gear up. Positive rate of climb. Going to head over Greater Stockholm here. We're popping off to a track of 355 degrees magnetic bearing, which is what we have to do as we leave Stockholm. One of the things about these flights is that I like to do them exactly as they're done in reality, not just fly my own willy-nilly direct way to the destination airport, but use the flight plans which are available on the internet to see which vectors I should be using. So anybody that's ever flown from Arlanda in Stockholm out over the Baltic Sea will possibly recognise this scenery. Okay. Now we'll reduce the flaps to about 5 degrees as we approach now 250 knots and pull the throttles back to climb power. At the beginning you use takeoff power, which is 82% of the engine's capacity, and climb power is generally 74% in a turbojet. Turbojets are capable of faster acceleration, but faster top speeds than a turbofan. but a turbofan has a lot more thrust to begin with. I'll look up the difference if you don't understand what I'm talking about there, but anyway, so now we're at 254 knots, which converts to around about 407 kilometers per hour. No, 256 knots actually is 275, so we've got to add 400 to that. So we're looking at around about 440 kilometers per hour, just roughly. Anyway, we're coming up to waypoint 1. Which is the ESKV VOR, and we're going to then track off now to a magnetic heading of 150 odd degrees. Well, yeah, 152 degrees, which is what we're supposed to be doing as we pass over the ESSB NDDB, which is a navigational direction beacon. I said D twice, I meant NDB, which is the navigational directional beacon. My goodness gracious me. I'm talking about the slackness of my pronunciation. I'm sure that I'm not having a stroke, however. Down there we have the greatest city of Stockholm, CBD or whatever it's called. I don't know the suburbs of Stockholm, but you're not really required to know them. Now, 250 knots airspeed converts to invariably greater ground speed the higher up you get, because the higher up you get, the less stance. Oh, here we go into the WP3 turn, which I should have warned you that I was about to do. Yeah, because at a greater altitude, the air density is less, and therefore the equivalent airspeed of 250 knots, which is what you're allowed to do under 10,000 feet, and we're not there yet. We're at 9,700 feet, but we're going to start 9,800, 9,900, and here we are at 10,000, so we're going to start accelerating here. Okay, here we are at 29,500 feet, cruising at 500 miles per hour, which is about 800 kilometers per hour. It doesn't look like that, but imagine a little car trying to follow it. That is 800 kilometers an hour. Anyway. Okay, coming over the coast of Russia now. Speed is 475 miles per hour, and we're at an altitude way below where we should be, but nevertheless we flatten out here because the air traffic control has given me clearance to 5,000 feet, and we're going to hold 5,000 feet, and I shouldn't be going the speed I am, so I'm now decelerating to my allowed 250 knots, which is 275 miles per hour, but 250 knots. Hope nobody busts me for that. There will be, if anybody watches this on YouTube, there'll be a lot of people that say I should have reduced the speed a long time before I got down to 5,000. But that would have extended the length of the clip. Now this is kind of long and boring because it just is. I've got COPD, which is accountable for that cough. Oh God, don't tell me. Anyway, so off we go. The ULLI navigational directional beacon, and we're going to track towards about 93 degrees, which is around about due east. We're at 93 degrees now. We're at 243 knots, so we're quite within our limits. But we have to hold 5,000 for quite some time here. Yeah, there's a lot of things to be desired on Flight Simulator, like the clearance felling of the forest to allow for the electricity stanchions are very grainy. The exacting square edges of the forest is unrealistic. But remember, this game, well, it's not really a game, it's a simulator, was released in 2006, and it's only 32 bits, and the coast is also rather angular until you start getting towards St. Petersburg, which we're now coming up on, and we're soon so we're 22 nautical miles away from our destination. Oh, let me have a look at that. You can't see me looking at that. Okay, here we go. We're going to track into the instrument landing system glide slope recommendation. Except we can't automatically follow the glide slope like new aeroplanes can. We've got to manually use the steering wheel to achieve it. So a little bit of an overshoot there, and we shall bring it back. I'm looking at the instrument panel whilst I'm showing you what's around. I'm not sure whether my voice is too loud compared to the sound or whatever. Another thing I don't like about Flight Simulator X is this pop-in thing where all the buildings appear. Suddenly they just pop into existence when you get close to them. You know, if it was a 64-bit game with larger memory cache capability, then these things wouldn't happen. But anyway, it's liquid silk as far as I'm concerned. The frame rate, which is exactly what I want. I don't necessarily need graphical brilliance, but what I do need is a very fluent progression of the flight. Okay. So you can obviously see the runway that I'm heading towards, and I am descending now at a rate of 750 feet per minute, which is around about usual for this speed and height. I'm reducing my speed, which is accounting for the nose up attitude, and I'm now putting out my flaps to 10 degrees, which brings the nose back down because the lift factor picks the whole plane back up, and I've got to push the nose down to account for it. 3 minutes to go until landing. We're now down at 173 knots as far as the ground is concerned. The airspeed is 166. Now the stall speed for DC-9 is about 145, but I'm going to land at 155 just so that I can be sure that I have full control over the aircraft on touchdown. If you go down to 245, then you'll stay in the air until you get to 244, and then you'll start dropping. So honestly, no, 145, well anyway, whatever I just said, except change the 2 for 1. So the stall speed's 145, and the fall out of the sky speed is 144. So you never want to do 145 unless you're in a headwind, and then your airspeed will then obviously not be 145. Anyway, so the ground speed now is 171. Got to get ready, the gears out. Lifting, pushing the flaps back to 25 degrees and reducing the airspeed now to 150 knots. Pine tree forests and all that sort of stuff, obviously planned so that if a plane has a crash, it'll stop pretty quick and not continue ploughing on through the paddocks. Anyway, whatever, I can't be bothered continuing that sentence because I've got to land. Right, now, so what we've got to do is put the flaps right back out now down to 35 degrees and start the flare process. Also, we've got to switch off the auto throttle and the bloody hell. Okay. So here we're flaring and we're going to put it down slightly off center. wasn't what I wanted. Oh, look, it doesn't matter anyway. Nobody's going to have a heart attack over it. So, see, that reverse thrust sound should have happened a bit later. You know, oh my god, the bloody engine sounds fucked. Something's gone haywire, but I don't really care. I landed, and you can hear that